Hello everyone, my name is Mike Albrecht. I'm the Director of Tennis at the Lake Forest Yacht and Country Club here in Daphne, Alabama. And today we're going to be doing an icon access instructional video. Topics today will include how to get more shoulder rotation on the forehand and how to get more wrist snap on the serve. So enjoy. Feel free to type in your questions during the presentation and we will answer them at the end. All right, let's get started. Okay, so let's talk about how to get more shoulder rotation on the forehand. Now, I know everybody's heard the phrase turn, step, hit, okay, and racket back, okay, which is the most important phrase, in my opinion, in the game of tennis, okay? Every student I teach, I always tell them there's two words I don't ever want you to forget. Those are racket back, okay? Key to all shots in tennis. Now, talking about the forehand, okay, we know turn, step, and hit means, okay, you're in your ready position, okay, racket back, turn, okay, ball's coming in, we need this left arm out there for balance, we step and hit. Now, one of the most common problems that I see in adult tennis, okay, is we swing with too much arm, okay, so in other words, we end up with swings looking like this, okay, and that's really bad for the shoulders, for the arms, puts a lot of stress on the upper body here. So we want to try to avoid that. Okay, we want to always have a nice, smooth swing, getting the whole body into the shot. Now, I came up with this really neat concept of actually holding two rackets in your hand, okay, to help with shoulder rotation on a turn, step, and hit forehand. Okay, I bet you're thinking, whoa, two rackets in your hand? How's that going to work? Well, I'm going to show you. How many of you, when you first learned to play tennis, the instructor said, point at the ball? So in other words, you know, if you turn your rackets back, point at the ball. Well, that is great advice, okay? But the better we get, the more we want to get our shoulders into it, and the more we advance in tennis, okay? So, you know, you got your racket back and you're pointing at the ball, you step, swing, and you catch the racket. Another very famous phrase in tennis, okay? Well, if your racket's back and you're pointing at the ball, okay, you know, our shoulders are not getting into the shot 100%. So if I'm here like this, okay, now if I bring my arm back this way, you notice how my shoulder just kind of rotated back and to kind of be more even with the other arm and shoulder. Okay, now as I swing, both rotate nice and easy through the shot. So, in order to teach you more shoulder rotation, I'm going to grab another racket. I'm going to hit the ball with a racket in each hand. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so I've got two rackets in my hand. Okay, of course, the first thing you're always going to do, famous phrase, racket back. Okay, so I'm going to get my racket back. Okay, I'm going to turn, and this time I'm going to get my other racket back. So I got both rackets back, okay? Arms are trying to be parallel with each other here. Now as I swing through the shot, okay, I'm going to rotate my shoulders, okay? So rackets are back, okay, here it comes. I'm going to step and rotate. Okay, notice that all my arms are staying parallel with each other and finishing right up to it. Okay, we'll do one more here. Okay, here comes the ball, and shoulders rotate right through the shot. Okay, so notice we didn't do this one. Here we go. We didn't swing really hard. Okay, to try to do that. Nice easy swing. One more time. Let's do this just one more time, and coming right through the shot. Practice that. Okay, you can have your doubles partner or somebody else toss you some balls. It's nice and easy. You can even do it from the service line to start off, okay? Probably easier to start a little bit more up close for something new like this. I want you to really feel both arms and shoulders kind of rotate through the shot. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the second way to get more shoulder rotation into the forehand for adults. Okay, now teaching adults the forehand and teaching kids or developing juniors, when you teach them the forehand, it's a little bit different. Okay, you know, kids, juniors, they have to be taught a certain way because you're developing them into being great players. Okay. Now, you know, when you're teaching adults, sometimes you want to always find ways to add power to their strokes, or keep them interested, or, you know, add shoulder rotation like we're talking about today. Normally, okay, when we're hitting the forehands, okay, it's always, you know, you give ready position, okay, racket back, of course, that's our famous word. The third word we can add to that, racket back and turn. So now we're turned, right, you know, we step, swing, get the shoulders in there. Okay, that's the classic, what I always like to refer to as the turn, step, hit forehand. Some people refer to it as the closed stance forehand. I always like to say turn, step, hit forehand. So, because it puts it in your brain, so you know what you're talking about. Okay, turn, step, hit. That's what I'm doing. Okay, so we've got that. Now, like we were talking about earlier, sometimes it's difficult to get a full shoulder rotation out of just stepping into the ball. Okay, so, you know, we wind up swinging like this. You can see if I'm just kind of just swinging like this a lot, you know, my shoulders aren't getting into it. So what I do is, when I'm teaching adults, and, you know, they're coming to me and you know, they have problems with shoulder rotation, or just they want to add more power to their forehand, okay, I will teach them the open stance forehand. Okay, so what the open stance forehand is, it's a great way to be able to feel your shoulders rotate back more and also rotate through. Okay, so if I'm just standing here in my ready position, okay, I would take my racket back, okay, but you know, I take my racket back, I'm going to feel everything just kind of rotate back. Okay, so I've got my ready position here. I'm going to rotate, and you see that left arm, it's going back with the other arm that's holding the racket. It doesn't have a racket in this time, but it's back there kind of just following right along. So I've got here, okay, I'm going to take it back here. So notice I'm open to the court. Okay, so ready position, okay, we're going to kind of practice this a little bit. I'm going to rotate back, and then the ball will be coming in, and I'm going to rotate all the way through the shot. Okay, now this shot can be used on the move, okay, or it can just be used as a stationary position, you know, if you're kind of uncomfortable with the turn, step, and hit forehand. It's just kind of an alternative. Okay, so if I'm on the move, okay, always start from your ready position, of course. Okay, remember the first thing we do, okay, racket back and turn. Now, when we're in this position, this allows us to move around the court to get in position. Okay, you know, we can't shuffle and move this way to try to get in position. Okay, so if we're here, racket back and turn. Okay, now say the ball's hit to my right, the ball's hit over this way. Well, I can take a couple small steps this way. Nice foot plant. Okay, so we're planting our foot instead of stepping into the shot. We're planting and we're rotating all the way around. Okay, of course, then we shuffle back to the middle. Okay, all right, so let's hit a few. Okay, so let's hit a few balls here. Practice the open stance forehand. Okay, now the first really easy way to practice this shot is you always want to keep it simple when you're trying to learn, practice something new. Okay, so of course you're going to be getting your ready position, which you're just kind of regular ready position, knees slightly bent. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to rotate back. And we're just kind of going to take the racket back. Okay, we're going to put the weight down on our right side here. Okay, so when we hit the ball, our weight transfers all the way over to our left. Okay, so it's like down here and then transfers to the left. Okay, so that's kind of the whole. You get more power with the open stance. You get more power. You know, you can get more spin too if you're a big spin hitter. Okay, so here we go. So here comes the ball. So racket's back, knees down, and I'm going to hit the ball. So I'm down here and I'm hitting the ball. Okay, one more time. So down and over to the left. Okay, now that's the first way. Now the second way, okay, is to practice hitting on the run. Okay, which when you're on the run for a forehand, open stance is really the way to go. Okay, so again, I'm going to be in my ready position. Okay, and what's the first two words you should never ever forget? They are racket back. Okay, so in my ready position, racket we're gonna add that third word in there, which is turn. Turn. So I've got racket, ready position here, racket back and turn. Now I'm ready to go. So here comes the ball. Okay, I'm gonna down my right and then finish on through. So of course, after I would hit that, I have to recover. Okay, so racket goes back, I'm gonna turn and I'm gonna hit the ball and recover. Go have some fun with it, practice, and improve your forehand. Okay, so let's address the serve now. You know, over the years, teaching tennis, found that the serve is probably one of the most under-practiced shots in tennis, but it's the only shot where you can practice yourself. So go figure that. You know, like I said, it's one of the most complicated, and you know, there's a lot of moving parts going on with the serve. Okay, so what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to keep it simple, okay, and we're going to help you add and give you a very unique way to add more wrist pronation, wrist snap, whatever you want to call it, into your serve. You know, the wrist snap is obviously it's the most important part of the serve, where 70 to 80% of the power, you know, can come from your wrist movement, your wrist snap. So I've come up with a way that is guaranteed to add more wrist pronation and wrist snapping to your shot. Now, before we begin this demonstration, let's just kind of go over kind of some of the ways that I've seen, you know, people serving and not using their wrist. Okay, so you know, I've seen this deal where we come up here and we're just all straight arm trying to hit, you know, and if we're not coming up here at the very top and snapping our wrist, well, obviously we're not going to get a lot of power on it, but also it can make you prone to injuries. Okay, so you know, snapping that wrist at the top here, it really takes the pressure off of the shoulder as your racket comes down. Okay, so not snapping and doing one of these deals right here can lead to elbow problems or shoulder problems. Okay, so you know, anytime you're playing tennis and you're hitting the ball the right way, it makes you less prone to injuries. Okay, now, so that was one way. I've seen this a lot, just kind of trying to hit as hard as they can, and actually they're snapping, a slow motion of that would have been, they're snapping, but they're snapping on the way down, they're not completing it to the very bottom. Okay, so that's kind of another thing that we see a lot. Okay, so we're going to 100% simplify it and make you have no other choice but to snap your wrist. Let's get started. Okay, here we go. So the first thing that you need to do is get down on the ground. Okay, so get down on the ground, cross with your legs crossed, and you want to be facing the net. Okay. Now, next step is you want to get your racket above your head, you know, somewhere up here where you know it would normally be when you're making like a regular serve. Okay. Now, what you want to think about here is when you toss the ball, you just want to toss the ball kind of closer to your racket, you know, and everything. So before we go any further, okay, in case you're wondering why are we sitting on the ground to do this, okay, well, I'm going to tell you. Okay. Now, sitting on the ground is a surefire way to help you snap your wrist, because if you don't snap your wrist, you're going to run your racket straight into the ground just like this. Okay. So you see how my racket just crashed right in the ground. Now don't worry about your racket, it's not going to break if that happens. Okay, rackets are super tough. Okay, it takes a lot to break them. Okay, so here we go. So racket goes up here. Okay, we're going to do this the right way. Now when you do this, I want you to focus on reaching up, and I want you to focus on finishing that wrist snap and trying to keep your arm up nice and high. Okay, it's okay if it fades down a little bit, but the most important thing is to get a nice wrist snap out of it. It should feel real smooth, kind of hitting the center of the racket. Okay, once again, here we go. We're up here, nice toss, and a nice wrist snap. Okay, do another one here. So arm up here, keep it nice and steady. Toss to the ball, and give it a nice snap. Okay. very, very important that we finish that wrist pronation. You notice how my arm is not coming down here, okay? We're not letting the racket hit the ground. Okay, it's just right here, nice cross, and a hit, okay? So, I hope you get out there and practice this method of sitting down on the ground and practicing your wrist snap. Good luck and get to it. Okay, thanks for watching today. I hope you enjoyed our different ways to get your shoulders into the forehand and to guarantee a wrist snap on your serve. I'm Mike Albrecht, Director of Tennis at the Lake Forest Yacht and Country Club, Daphne, Alabama. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure to send me some questions and I'll be more than happy to answer them. Y'all have a great day.